Welcome to the Daily Vibecasting. We're here for your quick, sharp roundup of what's buzzing on X right now, getting straight to the pulse of today's online conversations.
That's right. And today we've got quite a mix. We're looking at some really innovative drone warfare stuff, then the really tough issue of radicalization, also a very personal spiritual journey someone shared, and finally some vital questions about media accuracy. It's quite the range.
Absolutely. Our job here is to unpack these trending posts fast, pull out the key insights, and give you the context you need to stay informed, without feeling overwhelmed. Okay, let's jump right in. So first up, we're kicking things off with a post that, wow, really shows how fast military tech is evolving. Here it is. Multiple Russian Telegram channels are reporting that containers equipped with surveillance cameras are being placed by Ukrainian heavy drones where they can monitor Russian positions. A Starlink antenna provides communications. https://tovh1ybkfwb. That insight comes from @GrandProRoy2, Roy from Canada.
Yeah, this is fascinating. What strikes me is the strategic evolution here. This isn't just like a quick flyover. It's about extending the reach and, importantly, the resilience of surveillance way beyond the usual line-of-sight limits. We're talking about setting up these persistent eyes and ears deep in potentially hostile territory without risking pilots. That's a big step.
It really is, and it fits into this broader trend we've seen so much in the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, right? Drone tech, FPVs, those fast, agile ones flown with goggles.
Mm-hmm. First-person view.
Right, and these more advanced recon drones, they're just critical now. And both sides are constantly innovating, adapting, like using LTE modules, basically 4G tech, to dodge jamming signals. It's like a real-time tech arms race.
Exactly. And this move towards more autonomous long-duration monitoring, it's a potential game changer strategically. It forces us to think about these drones not just as tools, but as semi-permanent fixtures, like intelligent sensors left behind. Think about adding maybe a Raspberry Pi for onboard processing, maybe some AI, or solar panels for power, or even, booby traps to stop tampering. It really pushes the limits of unmanned systems.
It's kind of mind-boggling how fast this is all moving. It really makes you think, how is this technology reshaping conflict and surveillance, literally as we speak? Okay, moving on. Our next post is a really thought-provoking one from @Tookstead, David Hookstead. He writes, Tyler Robinson had a 4.0 GPA, an ACT score in the top 1% of America, traveled the world with his parents, and appeared incredibly happier in his younger years. Something changed. Something melted his brain. Something radicalized him. We need answers, and we need them now.
What's really stark here is that contrast, isn't it? High achiever, stable background, yet apparently radicalized. It completely challenges those easy assumptions we sometimes make about who's vulnerable to extremist ideas.
He really does.
It forces you to look deeper. It's clearly more complex, more insidious than simple labels suggest.
For sure. And the post itself hints at potential influences like social media or maybe educational settings. And there's some data that kind of backs up the online concern. A 2023 study, Journal of Adolescent Health, found a huge jump, 35%, in teens seeing radical online content since 2020.
35%. Wow.
Yeah, it's a massive increase. Really makes you think about the impact of that kind of exposure on young minds.
And you have to place that in the context of the COVID lockdowns too, right? 2020, 2021. There was that 2022 APA study showing a 25% rise in adolescent mental health issues linked partly to more screen time isolation. So you potentially have increased vulnerability meeting, increased exposure to extreme ideas online. It could be a dangerous mix.
And then there's that university indoctrination angle that often comes up. People point to studies like the 2021 NAS report, showing like a 12-to-1 liberal to conservative faculty ratio in humanities.
Right, that debate exists.
But it's so important, isn't it, to be careful not to just leap to conclusions about this specific case, Robinson's case, without direct evidence.
Absolutely crucial. While academic bias is a discussion point, connecting it directly here is speculation. But the idea of indoctrination itself, that narrative, it definitely fuels online polarization, creating that us versus them mentality. The key takeaway, I think, is that radicalization is almost never simple. It's usually this complex web of personal factors, digital exposure, societal issues. Especially now. It just defies easy answers.
Okay, our next post shifts gears quite a bit. It's a very personal question shared by @YalligatorGatorgar. Here's what they wrote. All right, Christians, help an ex-atheist and former Democrat out. Can I just walk into a church and sit down? What about Mass on Sunday? Is there anything I need to do in advance? I don't want to start a denominational argument, but where do I go? My family needs to go to church.
What's really compelling here is just how open this is. Someone sharing their journey from atheism and even identifying a past political label towards actively seeking out Christianity. And it does seem to echo a wider trend we're seeing. People looking for community, meaning maybe re-engaging with faith traditions.
It does feel like that. And there's data, too. That 2023 Pew Research study found 15% of U.S. adults who'd left atheism mentioned spiritual curiosity, often sparked by big life events.
Like family needs, yeah.
Exactly. And look at the timing of the post right before Sunday Mass on September 14th, 2025. It feels immediate, genuine, not just theoretical.
Mm-hmm. It speaks to that search for anchors, perhaps. Amid all the shifts in society, there's a Gallup poll in 2024 showing a small but noticeable 5% rise in church attendance since 2020, maybe tied to that post-pandemic search for community, for something stable.
That's interesting. And here's a bit of surprising historical context that might relate to the former Democrat part. There's analysis like the Great Switch showing how the Democratic Party shifted over time from being quite pro-religion in the 19th century to more secular now.
Ah, okay.
So you can see how someone's political identity might feel intertwined with their evolving personal or spiritual beliefs. A shift in one could prompt reevaluating the other.
That makes sense. It shows how tangled these things can become. Politics, faith, identity. Ultimately, this post really highlights that human quest for meaning, for belonging. It's deeply personal, defies neat boxes, and seems driven by needs that cut across labels.
It really does. What does this signal about faith and community today? It's a journey lots of people seem to be exploring. Okay, finally, let's look at a sharp critique of media reporting. This is from @Bonchiered Bonchi. Oh, look, the New York Times was completely wrong when it reported a source claiming there weren't actually anti-fascist engravings on the casings. Who could have guessed?
Yeah, this post zeroes right in on that tension between initial reporting and later confirmations. So the NYT initially cited a source denying these engravings on bullet casings related to the Charlie Kirk shooting incident. But then, a press conference later confirmed descriptions, including Bella Ciao. That kind of direct contradiction. It inevitably fuels skepticism about media accuracy, especially on charged topics.
Right. And the context for Bella Ciao itself is fascinating. It's known as this Italian anti-fascist resistance song. But historian Giorgio Bucca points out it became popular after WWII, not really during the resistance itself.
Oh, interesting nuance.
Yeah. So using it on casings now links it more to modern anti-fascist movements, which might complicate initial narratives about motive or ideology in this specific case. History matters for context.
Absolutely. And this speaks to a broader challenge for media corrections.
Mm-hmm.
That 2021 study, Journal of Communication, found outlets only correct errors about 34% of the time.
Only a third. Wow.
Yeah, often blamed on confirmation bias, wanting to stick with the initial story, unconsciously filtering out contradictory evidence. And when that happens with politically sensitive news, it just deepens the divides, makes it hard for anyone to figure out what's actually true.
It really underscores why critical media consumption is so vital for all of us, doesn't it? You have to question initial reports, look for evidence, see if corrections were issued. It's work, but necessary. This case highlights the challenges perfectly. And that wraps up our whirlwind tour for today's Daily Vibecasting. We covered a lot: drone tech, radicalization complexities, personal faith journeys, and media accountability.
Quite a mix. And it leaves us with a final thought maybe for you to consider. In this world, just swimming in information with narrative shifting constantly, how do you personally cultivate that sense of discernment? How do you make sure you're truly well-informed? And what's our shared responsibility in that process of finding reliable information and maybe challenging our own biases? Something to think about.
Definitely something to mull over. Thanks for tuning in.